It was Thanksgiving, a day meant for family, warmth, and gratitude. But for me, it became the day my world shattered. My parents, the two people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, looked me dead in the eyes and told me to get out, go live on the streets. My dad's voice boomed, dripping with disappointment. My mom just stood there, her silence a sharp, painful agreement. Why? Because I dropped out of college. I chose to chase a dream they couldn't understand, a path they saw as a dead end. Walking out that door, the cold November air hit me like a slap in the face. I had nothing but the clothes on my back and a burning fire in my gut. They didn't see the late nights, the endless hours I poured into my online business, the sacrifices I made. To them, I was just a failure, a dropout. The pain of their rejection was immense, a wound far deeper than any physical blow. I spent that Thanksgiving alone, eating a cheap sandwich in my car, tears streaming down my face. But amidst the heartbreak, a promise formed. I would not let them be right. I would succeed, not for them, but for myself. The next 3 weeks were a blur of relentless work. I channeled all my pain, all my anger, all my hurt into my project. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. My tiny apartment was a chaotic mess of whiteboards, code, and half-empty coffee cups. Every time I felt like giving up, I'd hear my father's words echoing in my head. Go live on the streets. It was cruel, but it became my fuel. I was running on pure adrenaline and a desperate need to prove my own worth, to build a life they couldn't tear down. I'd been developing a new kind of social media analytics software. It was my baby, something I believed could change the game for marketers. The day I launched it, my hands were shaking. What if they were right? What if this was all for nothing? The first few hours were silent. Doubt started to creep in, cold and familiar. Then the first sale notification popped up. Then another and another. It was a slow trickle at first, but by the end of the day, it was a steady stream. By the end of the week, it was a flood. I was so engrossed in managing the launch, handling customer support, and patching bugs that I barely looked at the numbers. It was my friend, Mark, who called me, screaming into the phone. "Dude, have you checked your account? Have you seen the revenue?" I hadn't. I pulled up the dashboard, my heart pounding in my chest. I stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. The numbers were astronomical. In just under 3 weeks, my little project, the one my parents had scorned, had generated over $25 million in sales. 25 million. The number seemed fake, like something out of a movie. I just sat there, staring, as the reality slowly sank in. I wasn't a failure. I wasn't destined for the streets. I was a multi-millionaire. The feeling wasn't just joy. It was validation. It was a quiet, profound sense of peace that washed over the gaping wound my parents had left. The holidays were approaching. Christmas was just around the corner. I hadn't spoken to my parents since that horrible Thanksgiving. Part of me was still furious, hurt beyond words. Another part, a small, stubborn part, still craved their approval. I decided to go back. Not to gloat, not to throw my success in their faces, but to see if anything had changed. I drove my new car, a sleek black sports car that cost more than their house, and parked it a block away. I wanted to see them, not my money. I walked up to the familiar front door and knocked. My mom answered. The surprise on her face quickly morphed into a familiar look of disapproval. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice cold. "I thought we told you not to come back until you got your life together." My dad appeared behind her, his arms crossed. "Still homeless? Come to beg for Christmas dinner." The words were meant to sting, and they did. But this time they didn't break me. I took a deep breath. "No," I said calmly. "I'm not homeless, and I'm not here to beg." I told them about my software, about the launch, about the success. I didn't mention the exact numbers. I just wanted them to understand that I wasn't the failure they thought I was. They didn't believe me. They laughed. It was a bitter, condescending sound. "Sure you did?" my dad scoffed. "You, a college dropout, made millions in a few weeks. Stop telling stories and get a real job." It was in that moment that I finally understood. It was never about my success or failure. It was about control. They wanted me to live the life they had planned for me, and anything else was unacceptable. My success, my independence, was a threat to their worldview. There was nothing left to say. The hope I had for reconciliation died right there on their doorstep. I turned around and walked away, the sound of their laughter fading behind me. This time, there were no tears. There was just a quiet resolve. I got back in my car, the symbol of a life they would never be a part of, and drove away. My real family became the friends who supported me, the team I built, the community that grew around my work. I learned that family isn't always about blood. It's about who lifts you up, who believes in you when you can't believe in yourself. I spent Christmas with Mark and his family, surrounded by genuine warmth and laughter. As for my parents, I eventually sent them a cashier's check that paid off their mortgage, with a simple note that said, "For your peace of mind." I never heard from them again. And that's okay. My success isn't defined by their approval. It's defined by the freedom I've earned, the life I've built from the ashes of their rejection. They told me to go live on the streets, and in a way, I did. I built my own street, paved it with gold, and I'm walking it on my own terms. And let me tell you, the view from here is incredible. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt like an outcast, or that your dreams were too big for others to understand, don't give up. Your validation comes from within. Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.